But you can tell by the sound level how well it is.
Yeah, and I can turn the sound level up.
Jack Schrader. Jack came to Maine at age 4 from New Jersey with his parents, and they moved to Pond in Manchester. Jack went to Manchester Elementary, Coney High School, University of Maine, and Wentworth College, where he graduated with an associate degree in electronics. He moved back to Maine from college and worked for digital until they closed. And then he was a substitute teacher for Coney High School. Jack was part of the Conte Yacht Club, which maintained the Lighthouse. Later on, the Cobbossee Lake Association took it over, and from there, they still maintain it. So please welcome Jack, and I think you'll find it very interesting tonight.
Now, first of all, let me tell you, I will be up and down because I have spinal stenosis and can't walk very fast. But yes, as she said, I came here in 1948 with my family. My grandmother ran a boarding house on the Pond Road in Manchester, and we in 48 moved. My brother, my sister, and myself and my parents moved in with the boarders. In fact, we slept in the shed because the house was full of boarders. It was a pretty popular spot. They had the old house where I grew up had approximately 25 rooms, and
Wow.
they were all full of boarders, mostly Massachusetts and New York people. And let's see now, that's the background. I say we moved here in 48. I have lived on the land, that same land, since that day. When my wife and I got engaged in 85, I believe, she says, I don't want that 25-room house, which is probably smart. And so we built a new home in the field next door. And that was a smart move, except for the taxes. So I've lived there since 48. I was gone for college, and that's about all. And and the lake was right behind me. Along with that big house that I grew up in, my great grandfather came back from the Civil War and bought all of that land in 1906 for $2,400.
Oh my.
All of that big house, a barn, a stable, 2 camps on Cobbossee, and 70 acres across the road where those apartments are now. And I've been here ever since. As a kid, I rushed around the lake a lot. I had a boat, and I had a real good friend that lived on the lake, and we just tore the lake up for 4 or 5 years until it was time to work. Let's start with the lighthouse. The lighthouse was the only one, the only active one left. There were 2 others. One was on, I don't remember the island, but one of the islands in the middle of the lake, and that's still there. That building is still there. The other one was really a light, not a lighthouse, and that was on the entrance out of the main lake into what was Cobbossee Stream and so forth. There was the rocks in there, and that tower it was a metal tower was there. That's all I know about it. I don't don't pretend to be knowledgeable of everything that happened around here, but I know a lot of stuff and I don't want to talk about them. But anyway, it was the two other lights. I guess I just said that. One was at the entrance to the outlet, and the other one was on an island out in the middle a little bit, somewhere near Horseshoe. They say that building is still there. The tower that the light was on is gone, but it's the lighthouse we take care of now is still there. We done a number of things. The Cobbossee County Yacht Club, which is now the Cobbossee Lake Association, have done quite a lot of things on the lighthouse. The first thing that we did was just a maintenance thing, and we let's see what we put a new cage on the top, and then in 1990, I believe, we started the restoration of the base of the lighthouse. We spent I think almost $40,000 straightening that light. It was leaning badly, caused by wave action on the base and just age. We spent I think $30,000 to $40,000 on the base. I have all the pictures here that were taken by Mr. Stevens. Hugh Stevens, who was the Commodore of the lighthouse for the yacht club for years. He's still alive, but he's not up here in the summer anymore. We have, besides the new ramp around the top, we put a light in that is run by solar now. There used to be a wire under the lake that ran from what used to be, I always knew it as Charlie McCarthy's big mansion that's on the lake. I don't know who the people are that own it now. And we did that good. I got some help, Mr. Kelsey. Thank you, Bill. He's my backup, and he doesn't know that yet. So, we put that quite a lot of $40,000 in straightening that base up. That was a major work. Say, I have all the pictures of it. That I don't know how much that lighthouse weighs, but it's a lot. And that we hired Jewett Builders out of Jefferson, I think, or someplace, and they came and did all the work. You'll see it here. It's just amazing what they did. They jacked that whole thing up, put a new foundation underneath it. Then a little bit later, earlier, I'm not sure which, we put solar. We have a solar panel on the side of the up top. And that supplies electricity to run the lighthouse all year round. We have batteries. I don't know, Bill, how's our batteries in the lab? Going well?
Going well. You've got your engineers down here, the Curtises, that can tell you even.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize who they were. They're the ones. Okay, so that's what I know about it. I say I've lived there since 1948. And I think I'll let me see what, I haven't written anything down. I just took somebody else's notes. We, very recently, the yacht club was changed to the Cobbossee Lake Association, and we have got a very large amount of money in our treasury now to keep the milfoil out of the lake. We recently, very recently, found milfoil in the outlet and a couple other places on the lake. So we're worried about that because it's a very invasive type. It's called European or something like that. And it has no natural enemies. And if it gets in the lake will be filled and we won't have anything on it. So that's what we're have done. Let's see what else. Back up a little bit. The construction of that, putting that foundation in. Way before that, there were. This is the fourth. What's the word I want? Iteration of the lighthouse. There were 3 others before it, and this one was built in 1906, somewhere in there. And there's a story that goes along with that. That lighthouse was built by a man named Albert Farr, Farr, more known to all of us as Bert. And he built that lighthouse with oxen. And the story is that he had a barge to take the oxen out to the light. And I could back up a little bit. No, when that was being built, there was no dam on the lake. The lake was very much lower. I don't know how much vertical feet down it was, but all the rocks along the shoreline were exposed. And so Bert had 2 oxen that he took out. As I say, the island was much bigger then. He had these 2 oxen he took out. He took one out. I don't know how, but some sort of a arrangement. He took one out, and as he was headed back to get the second one, the first one had started swimming back. So how it proceeded from there, I don't know, but he got it up, and it's been in pretty good shape. We've, as I said, we've spent $40,000 to get it straight, and thankful for a couple large donors, Kennebec Savings, and one of them. It's a plug from my bank that my wife had worked at for 40 some years. So anyway,
Which one is it?
the oxen were out there and they got it built. And I don't remember much about the early days. As I said, I was only 4 years old, so you can't have to forgive me. And my memory's not good anyway. Let me see what else I have here. Say there were 2 other lighthouses on the lake. One was not really a lighthouse; it was just a light right around the entrance to the outlet. And the other one was on one of the islands, and that still stands there. I don't know what island it's on. Bill, can you help me with that? What island that other lighthouse is on? The wooden building?
I don't know. I'm familiar with the Bell Island.
Bell Island. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, that's that. They say there were originally the light was tended to every day, every night. Somebody went out and lit the candle or the kerosene light that was in there, and put it out in the morning. And next day we went out and did the same thing. So they say the Cobbossee Yacht Club wasn't really ever a yacht club. That was just it. Whoop, something just came off me. That was just the name they called it. And with the raising of the money that we needed to fix everything up and keep the milfoil out, we had to change some names and do some other stuff there. Thank you, Ben.
Maybe I won't.
Let's see what else I can pull out of here. The lighthouse as it is today, structure-wise, was built around 1906. We're in that neighborhood. Take a few years. I'm not sure about that. The lantern and the oil lamp that was on it has been blown off twice. 1990, the iron was replaced, the staging was in place. And then since that time, the yacht club, replaced it all again. It's all aluminum up there now and very, very sturdy. And say the big, the big advantage of it now is that we don't have to do anything to it, but look at it. And there's no, excuse me.
Can anybody go and visit it?
You know, that's a question I didn't anticipate. I'm not sure. It's if they put, no, Bill.
Jack, anybody that wants to visit the lighthouse can contact us and we'll make an arrangement. We like to do it with small groups. Last year, we had 25 from the New England Lighthouse Lovers Association, and we ferried them out there in 4 or 5 pontoon boats. But we can arrange visits if people want to.
It isn't with the lake at the level it is now. There isn't a whole lot of room to walk around, and it's very the rocks are big and they're slippery. And I've only been out there maybe 3 or 4 times in my lifetime, and it's there. If Bill said, if anybody wants to just get a hold of somebody in the yacht club, and we'll see that you get out there.
When he went out with the ox, did they leave the ox on the island or?
This was long before my time. We're talking on 1906. That was before my parents' time. So, when before we electrified it with electricity, I mean, when we electrified it with electricity, there is a Charlie McCarthy who owned what I knew was Shanosky Estate on the lake. It's now belongs to somebody else, I don't know. But Charlie McCarthy provided the electricity, and there is a wire that goes from his house, or what was his house, all the way to the lighthouse. I'm thinking of trying to figure out a way of getting that. That wire is no good to anybody, but it's a mile of copper wire. That's worth some money. So I'm thinking, trying to figure out a way of how we're going to get out there and pull that up. I've got a diver who will go out and look at it and to see if it's just laying there or it's tangled in weeds, and whether it be worth taking it, trying to pull it up. But anyway, that's just a project that I took on myself, and I need a lot of help. You see. Let's go and see a few other things here that the other 2 lights are on Bell Island and Crow Island. They're not maintained. All of these, I don't know if all of them, but many of the islands on the lake were owned by the Welch family. And I don't know how that came all about, but the yacht club back a ways had to negotiate with the Welch family to get that island in our name. It now belongs to the Cobbossee Lake Association, and that's where it is. The tower itself is 16 feet high, with its lantern added another 9 feet. It's equipped with a 75-watt bulb and now a standard lighthouse light, very expensive light. I think it costs us a couple $1,000s to buy the light, but it's a regular light that you would use in any kind of a lighthouse around the world. anything that I didn't write this down, I copied it and, anyway, I guess what we can do now is just, ask me questions. If I can answer them, I'll say so. If I can't, well, somebody else. Yes, dear.
Hi. I understand there's a little story behind the name of the lighthouse. It's called Ladies Delight.
Right.
Can you
That's-
fill
that's-
us in on
that's-
that?
A piece that I didn't touch on. Yes, we think it was called, there's nothing written down, but we think it was called Ladies Delight because there was a lot of traffic on the lake going back and forth to Island Park. And there were a lot of dances out there, a big deal. And according to what we think is that was named Ladies Delight, so that the ladies had a place to stop and however on the way to the lighthouse, or on the way to Island Park. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's where we think the name came from. All I know. Any questions? Other questions? Talk to me.
You
Yes,
said
sir.
that was the fourth lighthouse there, the previous three?
There were three others in that spot,
Yeah,
and they all over the years.
they all deteriorated or
Yeah,
somebody took them down?
It's just weather. They were all where that history is. But they just, they weren't made with modern construction equipment. They were wood
Oh, yes.
and they just didn't last.
But they were lighthouses. They had a light,
Excuse me?
they were lighthouses
They're like,
with a light?
Yeah.
With that copper cord running through out to them?
That's the way we had it. Now it is lit by solar. We have solar panels out there and we have a registered or whatever light that goes in there and it goes on. Hasn't failed us. We haven't, I don't know how many years it's been 5 or 6, I guess. Light has never failed. The batteries have never failed. I don't believe we've ever replaced the batteries.
is it on 7/24/7?
It's still, well, it's lit by,
Oh, okay, when it gets dark, it comes
when it
on
gets
every
dark,
day.
it comes on, yes. As I said, I'm trying to figure out a way of getting out there and getting that copper off the lane. The mile of copper, 3-conductor copper wire worth some money today with the price of copper.
We should have a phone
So we're
call.
trying to figure out how we can get that. I have a diver that's gonna go out and look at it and see how angled it is in the bottom of the lake. And then if that seems feasible, we're gonna get some sort of a barge out there and a big reel and roll that stuff up. It didn't just laying there. But I haven't heard back from the Friends of the Cobbossee Yacht Club. I approached them, said, is there anything environmental that we have to worry about? It probably is, but anyway, we haven't heard back. But that's all contingent on getting approval to do that.
Another question that
Yes,
way,
yeah.
over that way.
Over here.
Yeah, right here.
Yes, sir.
Before electricity, how was the light?
Before the electricity,
Kerosene.
there was oil, kerosene. And if somebody had to go out every night, trim the wick, and light it up, and had to go back out in the morning and do it, or they had to do it the next day. I don't think they put it out. They probably just went out. And the next day, you had to do the same thing over again. This Bert Farr, who built that lighthouse, say he was a character would be a very nice place, but he was an old reprobate. He lived just down the road from me, right near the Farr farm. He was related to Wesley farmer who owned the farm that's now fallen down. And he had a son, Cecil. I don't know much about that, but anyway, he was the go-between. I mean, he did everything. Bert was quite a guy, because I knew him from my youth, and he was a rough individual, very rough in all those areas you think of, there, speaking and where he lived and so forth.
Did anybody ever live on the island?
Excuse me.
Did anybody ever live there on the island? No.
Now, remember that I didn't said this before or not. The lake was way down compared to it is now. This was before the dam was put in. Now, I'm not sure what that date is. I tried to find that out and couldn't find it out. But there was no dam. So that lake was way, way down compared to where it is now. And that's the only way they got it done is with oxen and.
Oh.
So
Next,
Jack,
yes, ma'am.
who was Malcolm Farr?
Malcolm Farr was Bert Farr's son.
Okay. Because you remember that he took care of it for a while,
Yeah, I think he did. I think
because in the night, occasionally, he would call my grandfather and he'd say, Herbert, the light's out. We gotta go. And we'd go. Yeah.
Now, was there a lot of boating at night on the lake?
No, they usually.
Why did they need?
Back then, when the dance hall, Highland Park was on, there was a very popular spot to be. I can remember my mother and her sisters and brothers going out there, and this was in the 20s, 30s. And, they went out and danced. No, there was some big bands out there. I don't know the name of the bands, but there were some big bands. I don't think Jimmy Dorsey was ever out there, but there were some big bands.
Mhm. Now, how far is Island Park from the lighthouses? Could you?
It's not far. It may be. I'm just trying to think. It may be a couple miles, maybe. That lake is reportedly is 10 miles long and 2 miles wide at the widest spot. And it's some distance from the lighthouse, but to say that story about why it was called Ladies Delight, who knows? But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Come on, we gotta talk more than an hour more here. Anybody is welcome to look at these pictures. There's a picture here of the base of the lighthouse in 1908, which then was put on, and it says here. See if I can read it. This tablet is erected by the Cobbossee County Yacht Club in memory of Daniel C. Robinson, founder, first Commodore, and ever loyal friend of the Cobbossee County Light. What else? I can't pass these around. These pictures are kind of valuable because I don't know why they were entrusted to me, but just because I always lived there. But there's some certain nice pictures of it, and I can't think about how much more land there would be if the lake were down. But the only time there's only 2 times that the lake has been down considerably from where it is now was when they were putting the sewer line from Winthrop to Augusta across the end of the lake. That was one time it was down, and it was also down for a while. I think some of the other occasion. Well, when they were fixing the light, and the base, the water was drawn down a bit. Yes, sir.
You said that the base used to be wood. Is it still wood today?
No, the base is concrete.
Cement.
It's all poured concrete. And it was quite a job. I recall that they said the weight of that lighthouse is something like 40,000 pounds. That's 20 ton. And how Jewett builders ever straightened that, it's beyond me. Must have been quite an engineering feat.
You
Okay,
ever go visit a lighthouse?
excuse me.
You ever get out there and visit the lighthouse?
I have been out there only a couple times in my lifetime. I was out there once a couple of years ago with Bill. I don't remember what we went out there for, but say it's that light, that solar panel and the batteries work perfectly. Knock on wood, they never fail. But one of these days, we're gonna have to replace batteries, but hey, with the milfoil, go ahead a little bit, with the milfoil we've got in lake now, there was always a milfoil, a native milfoil. But with the introduction of the variable leaf Eurasian milfoil, that has no, I don't want to say competitors, but it has no natural enemies. If we let it take over the lake, like we gone. It'll just take it over, and it's very, very, very fast growing. So we're attempting to keep boaters aware of that, because it only takes a little fragment picked up by a propeller or a paddle or anything and deposited someplace else, and we get it all over again. And that's what's happened. The outlet is completely shut down. We try to get people not to get down the outlet at all, because there's too much milfoil there.
How did they get rid of it? Oh,
There are two kinds there. The variable Eurasian milfoil is just a matter of they pull it up and they put a pesticide on it, I believe. I haven't seen that done, but I know that's how it's done. The other, the regular milfoil that's in the lake, that's just there. That's part of the lake. The third specimen, or what we call frog bit. And we just found that a couple of years ago on the stream that comes into the lake through the golf course. It was found right on it's very, very shallow there, and that's where they found it. They've since found it a few other places, but we've got, as I say, we got quite a large sum of money to make sure that doesn't come back. Yes, Bill?
I can just elaborate on the herbicide that's used. They've got a targeted herbicide that they do apply. It was done a couple of times in the lake, and it actually attaches to the milfoils and speeds up their growth so fast that they actually kill themselves. And it only takes about 24 hours. And it dissipates real quickly, so there's no damage. The domestic or the native milfoil isn't damaged by it in any appreciable way. So
it doesn't hurt the fish?
doesn't hurt the fish, doesn't hurt humans, as long as they're not immediately in contact. But I can't tell you that a fish wouldn't get hurt if they were right there, but it's targeted very quickly, and as I said, dissipates real quickly. It's been used in quite a few lakes that had very big problems. 1,000 acres of milfoil that's been eliminated for the most part. But right now it's chasing it around the lake, trying to find it before it gets too much spread around the lake.
That's what the Friends of the Cobbossee watershed do. We combined with the yacht club and the state is what the team they've got together to make sure that doesn't come or doesn't stay in the lake. They have, two people, I think, that are in a, 2 or 3 people in a boat. They go, as soon as anybody reports that they've seen something suspicious, they send the boat out and then they verify it, whether it's Eurasian milfoil or whether it's just regular milfoil. Very difficult to know what it is without knowing your biology, I guess.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
This isn't necessarily Lighthouse Week related, but it's lake related. So I've heard a story about back in the old days, they would move houses or camps across the lake, either by horse or by oxen. Do you know anything about that?
I do,
The winter
because one of the camps behind my house was, that happened to. He said, the property that belonged to my family is right what we call Elephant Rock. It's right next to where the Hawks farm came right down to the water. And there was, the 2 camps on the lake were finally in 1956, I believe. My father and the uncles got together and said, we got to have this land surveyed and petitioned off. And after they did that, my Uncle Al was married to a FAR, the FAR farm, Cecil, Richard, Alton, and the girls, Kay was married to my uncle. And their camp was on the north end of our property. And in 1950, 51, something like that, they cut that camp into pieces. I don't know how many there were, but I think I heard there were 4. The FARs had Belgian workhorses, and they took that portions of that camp, hauled it onto the lake, block and tackled it down the lake, and then put it back up on the lake, back on the shore. And this was before machinery. This was all done by those big Belgian workhorses. Amazing. And so I think there have probably been others that were moved, but that's the only one I know of because it was our property. It was, I wish I had been a little bit older so I could have taken a little more note of it, but in 1950, I was only 6, so.
So did this tend to get done during the winter when it was frozen?
Yeah, they moved those camps when it was frozen. They went out and back in the 50s, when I was growing up down there, it wasn't uncommon to have 2 feet of ice on that lake. It was much, much colder than it is today, much colder. I can remember when I was growing up, that there would be weeks at a time when it wouldn't go above 0. So it was cold. It's not like it is today. I tell people, I said, you ought to have lived in the 50s, and then you know what it meant to be cold.
Did you ever hear the story about a team of horses that went through the ice trying to pull the house across a camp across the lake?
I don't know. I never heard that.
I've heard that. I don't know whether it's true or whether it's an old lie.
I know there's cars that have been dumped in the lake by accident. And it's interesting. They talk about the lake being clean and so forth. When I was growing up, you could go out and you could see down 20 to 30 feet in the water. It was so clear. But over the years, it's gotten polluted, and hopefully we're going to keep it from getting any worse. Don't know, but we'll see. We're going to do our best. We've got, I don't know how much in our treasury now given to us by very grateful donors to get us going. It's over $1 million for that bank right now. So how they spend it, we've got a change of management, if you will. Back when I was involved with the Yacht Club a lot more, they were just a bunch of us that did what we could to do what we had to do. I was treasurer for a while. I'm not an accountant, but But the, staff now of the yacht club, of the Lake Association is much, well, I don't know how to say that, more educated, more know things. They're not dummies like the rest of us. Yes, sir, ma'am.
When I grew up, back in the late thirties and early forties, they used to harvest ice from that lake.
We did.
The Hewitts did, and my father and I used to go to Hewitts every week and get ice for our ice box, because we had no electric refrigerator.
We did that too at our house. That's what
My grandparents had it.
big, we had great big ice refrigerators and put ice in them every day.
Hewitts lived at the end of the lake.
Yes, yeah. There were a couple of ice houses on the lake. One of them was Johnny Savage, Emery's Grove, at the end of down the outlet. He had an ice house. I don't remember where the other one was, but there were others. And they cut down and they saw that ice up and haul it out in chunks and put it in a shed
Hewitts
with
lived down
sawdust all around it. That was the cooling for the winter, the summer.
Yeah.
At this point, right?
Well, speaking of ice, did you ever see the ice boat races? Did they used to race? sail
We used to
boats?
have ice boat races on the lake, and they used to have, back when we first got here, there were, what was the name of the class of motor? But they were a little boat with a Mercury outboard motor on the back of it, and they used to race up and down that lake. They had competition. They had buoys out there, and they had competition, and that was a wild time. That was before modern day. But it was crazy, just crazy. These little boats was going so fast, and then if you know Cobbossee, it's never calm. Well, it is sometimes, but not often. So racing a boat at 40, 50 miles an hour on a rough lake is not a safe thing to do. Yes,
Do you have any stories about the lighthouse, anecdotal sort of, or passed down kind of stories, or on the lake that are interesting and that you would like us to remember?
I don't know of any written stories. They're just the one about the oxen is the only one I don't know about, the oxen.
It's the unwritten ones that are the interesting ones.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, we won't go there. They think the kids today are wild. They don't know our generation.
So. Yeah.
Yes,
The story that I heard about the Ladies' Delight, and I'm sure there are 10 different stories. In fact, I think we were just talking about it here at the center, that the men would do things on Sundays and just leave the gals at home. And they said, this is for the birds. We're going to do something. So the ladies would pack a lunch and go out to the lighthouse just themselves, just the ladies. And that's why it was Ladies' Delight. So they had a delightful, that's the one I heard.
sounds like a more positive.
Sounds like a very tame story.
Do you like to do that one?
But the Island Park was a big attraction. They were all, I don't know the name of the bands, but there were some big bands that came out of the park.
So Corey. Al Corey was the last.
Al
one.
Corey, right, yeah.
Now, Allen Park, I've never been there, so I have no idea what it looks like. Is it like an island by itself, or is it?
It's part of a chain of islands. I mean, it's just the geological formation of the ice when the ice left 1,000 years ago. That was left there, and it's just a bunch of rocks. But there's islands like the lighthouse all over the lake. They're all that way. You go around an island, and you don't make sure that you know what's underneath. Usually on the ends the island ends, there's rocks.
Mhm.
And then there are some places where the rocks are just there. I've seen boats go up and down that lake and just hit one of those big piles of rocks, and at the end, the boat's gone, so it's the motor. And must have been interesting when they had those little boats racing on that lake. As they say, you can almost count on one hand the number of days or nights that lake is calm. You know, there isn't a wave on it, but there are some days like that, but not many of them. Not,
Wasn't Island Park down to the right of where the White Duck is now? Where that motel?
It's right by them.
yeah, well, Island Park is the upper end of the lake.
I just thought it was yeah, I never saw it, but I just, in my mind, thought it was to the left, to the right of White Duck down there by the water. Is that?
That's
well.
It is, that's what it is. Point. Oh,
Across the bridge.
Yeah, bridge, no.
Next day was then.
We do.
excuse me.
There's a bridge at the other end where you can cross with a car.
Yeah.
And then you're on one island, and then to get to Island Park, you had a rope pedestrian bridge that you had to cross by foot
Oh.
to the second island. I remember seeing the bridge years ago.
I think the trolley used to stop down there.
And that's another attraction, yes.
Yeah.
It was the trolley combined with the bands.
Yeah. Quite the place, I guess.
And I don't remember that. I'm sorry, I'm not that old.
Sounds good.
Big dance hall. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Sort of an outdoor dance.
I grew up in Manchester. My name was Penny Jackson, and we lived on 202, if you know where Brown and Jackson Garage was. My grandparents lived beside us. And as a young girl, 5, 6 years old, I remember the Coney, Gardner, and Howell high school kids going for their prom or for the dances on a Friday and Saturday night. I would sit on the front steps because they were all in convertibles, hooting and hollering and having a wonderful time. And I didn't hear them going back because I was in bed by then. But when we went to school in Manchester, the last day, and I don't know if they did it when you were there, we used to go to Island Park for our picnic because there were swings and slides, and there was a lot of broken glass. So swimming was iffy for them.
we did that for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was the last day.
but it was very
Everybody went
popular and very busy.
Manchester the school was a little smaller than this now.
Yes, much smaller.
Wow.
Everybody speak at once. I'm sure there are things that should have touched on, but to say I did this because I seem to be the only one that wanted to do it.
I will say that the lighthouse still serves a useful purpose. I found myself on the lake at night, and it's dark, and I'm trying to figure out how to get home.
Yeah.
And I use the lighthouse for navigation to get home.
Oh.
And so it's still a very useful thing. It's not just ornamental.
Good.
Amazingly dark.
And to follow up on that, the year before we put in the passive solar system, the light was out and we were having a hard time figuring out what the problem was. I was out there a few times at night and you totally lose your bearings, even when you know that lake really well. So as Dan says, it really does serve a purpose navigating.
Can anyone go visit the lighthouse?
Sorry?
Can anyone go out to visit the lighthouse?
With trips.
Yeah,
Yeah, the boat. It's just near boat.
by boat.
Yeah.
Right on that.
Yeah, but you can kayak out, right? It's not that far, right? There's a public boat launch in East Winthrop and you can get there. It's probably 1.5 miles, probably, Bill, and
Yep.
to get there. But sure.
But he did say that with the water level the way it is, and there's not that much land, And with the rocks being slippery and whatnot, it would be a challenge, correct?
Yes.
We don't encourage people to go out there without escorts because, any potential liability of getting hurt out there. So it's good to contact us and, we're more than happy to show people the lighthouse. That's why we did it for the, lighthouse lovers last year.
If you ever do it again, can you post it somewhere so we can sign up?
What, to go out?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's, I don't know, it's, it's kind of the lighthouse is in Winthrop. But most of the access to the lighthouse is from Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, what I just said isn't true today either because of there's camps all the way around that lake now, but.
Sounds like the Historical Society needs to put together a pontoon boat tour of the lighthouse.
Right.
Right?
Day trip.
That's it.
That could, yeah, that could happen.
Trying to think about a little more history here that I skimmed over with. The lighthouse was first designed by Frank Morse, who was a Boston marine architect. The small side, the small island on which it was constructed, latest night, is formed by the center part of the large reef. The lighthouse has been built to keep a passenger launch at the south end of the lake. Where does that go? That doesn't know any place I know. But the solar installation out there was well worth the money. The pictures here that I have, and it's kind of hard to show them around. I wish I had slides, but I didn't have time to make slides. But what they had to do to get that lighthouse straightened up was a real project. I mean, a big project. We're talking, what did they say that thing would weigh? 30 tons? That's a lot of weight to lift up. But they did it, and I think we had many large contributions, and a lot of people just jumped in and helped with the funding for the different things we've done. We're very fortunate, but I think everybody realizes that once that lake is ruined, it's ruined. It won't be back. And we're not going to see that day. I won't. I hope.
Now, do they get money from licensing the boats, or do they get any money from the town?
We have, the town of Manchester has an article in the warrant every year about part of this fund goes to different things, but I don't think most of the funds are raised by just people donating. And you might expect that there are some very, very well-to-do people who live around the lake.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody inspect the bass boats, the boats that go in during the bass tournaments for milfoil before they go in?
We try to have the Cobbossee County Lake Association tries to have people at the boat launches when they have a bass tournament. I'm not sure how well that works, but apparently it doesn't, because that's how the outlet got the way it is right now.
It works great on weekends when the boat launch is actually manned by people, but during the week, there's nobody there.
That's right. When they have a contest or a tournament, then they're manned. But during the week, and they're not just the public boat launch. There's in Monmouth, there's one in East Winthrop, and there are many others where they just go along with camps. I
Mm.
used to put my boat in right behind my house, but you can't do that anymore. If you want to survive.
Just to let you know, I belong to the Maranacook Lake Association because I do live on Maranacook. And at this time, the Bass Fishermen Associations have taken charge of their tournaments, and they do their inspections faithfully because they don't want to be the ones responsible for anything going wrong. So we have Friends of Cobbossee Watershed. We belong to that also. So we do have people that are too. There's one in Reedfield and there's one on Norcross Point that is manned from early in the morning until in the afternoon, about 4 days a week, which is like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But they can slip through. Luckily, Maranacook doesn't have a problem. So we'll keep crossing our fingers.
Mm.
Yes, sure.
So if anyone who has never seen the lighthouse and wants to see it, come see me and I live on the lake and I have a pontoon boat. I'd be happy to give you a ride and we can drive around the lighthouse. So I'll hang around after your talk and give you my phone number and we can arrange a time to bring people out.
I'm on the fundraising committee for the Historical Society. May I speak to you?
Oh, for some money.
Yeah. For both of us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that would be great. It's a special place and a special lake, and I'm happy to do that. And you guys should, if you haven't seen it, you should.
I haven't heard the story about how this milfoil got down where the outlet is. They don't know. That's the problem. You don't know where stuff comes from. And if you said it only takes a little fragment of that weed or that to get in the water, and where it's shallow, which is more shallow around the outlet and the upper end of the lake, and that's where it plants itself, and we just have to be smart enough to get rid of it.
When a boat comes in and they get ready to put it in, if there's milfoil on it, how do they get rid of it? Do they wash it before? How do they get rid of it?
They have a
That I
process
do not know.
and they bag it and they tag it and they take information and they have a whole, all the people who do that are trained. I went to training. There's no way I'm gonna volunteer to do that. There was a lot of needing to know certain things because it can be so small. It can be on the trailer, it can be on the truck, it can be on the motor, it can be any part of that boat. And so you really have to do a good inspection and you have to know exactly what you're looking for because there are other things that look similar, which are not milfoil. So it's a process.
Yes, yeah.
Going back to Island Park, years ago when I was a child, my parents used to take us out there and it was a causeway. And you go past the White Duck straight, don't turn to go to the marina, just go straight. It used to be a causeway. And they had a large beach there. And we used to go as kids and have a picnic and swim. And as they said, they had swings and things like that.
That was before the island was populated by 3 or 4 homes out there now, but they're I guess not as bad as you would think because they're on the sewer line. The sewer line is right across onto Island Park, and all those camps or houses that are on the lake attached to that sewer line.
So now there is an actual bridge. And what a group of men from Augusta bought the island and turned it into 4 house lots, 4 or 5. So there are some new houses out there. And after Island Park, as the gentleman said, there was a footbridge which took you to the next island, which was Hershey's Island.
Right.
And when I was in high school, so this was 58, 59, 60, when I was in high school, I went to a dance there in the dance hall.
And it wasn't a big band at the time, but they had one of those big disc balls. And they had somebody spinning the records. And they had dances, but by the time I was out of high school, they had stopped even doing that. But it was a spectacular place at the time. So I'd say 58 or 59 was, they were still
The good old days.
going at that point and stopped shortly after.
Would they ever reopen it?
No,
No, it's
No, that's all. That's all.
it's all houses up there now, it's private houses.
Take the answers out. That's too bad. That's where all good things come to an end.
any more questions at this point for Jack? Okay. Certainly, I think you'll be here a little bit after the talk, so you'll probably talk with him then as well. Maybe have books up there. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, we have hats up here that has Cobbossee Lighthouse on them. And these are, some books on, lighthouses in Maine. So if you're interested in them, you can pick one up on your way home.
Are we in it? Are we in it?
You don't,
No,
no,
think so.
I don't know why. No, I went through it this afternoon.
Yeah, as far as I know, we're the only inland lighthouse in the state of Maine.
It's also, I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, but it's also on the National Register of Historic Places. Yes, just looked it up to verify. It was still there. Okay, well, thank you all for coming.
All right, you're welcome.
Hope they don't.